Hello guys, so in this video we're going to render a couple of different maps from ZBrush. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to go to render, and I'm going to go to my render properties, and I'm going to in this case I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion, and I'm going to turn on wax preview, and I'm going to turn vibrant to 100. And then I'm just going to do a quick render of this. So I'm going to press the button up here, which renders with the settings that I've just put in. So I'm just going to let it finish here. And there we go. So now that we have this rendered out, we can go to render, and we can go to BPR render pass. And these are basically the textures that it has just rendered for us. I'm going to click shaded here, and I can save this map wherever I want. So I'm gonna go to my wood texture tutorial map folder, and I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm just gonna call this renders, and I'm gonna call this white wax. I'm just gonna call it wooden planks white wax, like that. I'm gonna hit save, and let's try a couple of different maps as well. First of all, let's now turn off. Let's see. Let's turn off. Actually, we also want to save the height map. So if you go to the render pass again, so render and render pass here, this depth map is really our height map. So we're gonna save this as well. So I'm gonna call this wooden planks underscore height. Save. And ZBrush also do provide us with an ambient occlusion map. I don't really like this ambient occlusion map because it's really bright, and I could play with the levels inside of Photoshop to make this look good, but I think I'm just gonna bake one from XNormal instead. So what I'm instead going to do is I'm gonna turn off I'm gonna turn off ambient occlusion, and I'm gonna turn off shadows for this next render. Let's see, I'm gonna choose a different material this time. So let's see, I'm gonna choose the madcap white for this one. Let's see, and I'm gonna click render again. And this map I'm also going to save, because it gives us some nice dark areas that we can use as a multiply level in a layer inside Photoshop. So I'm gonna come back to my render pass, and I'm gonna click shaded, and I'm just gonna call this let's see, what do we want to call it? We can just call it wooden planks underscore white. That's fine. The next thing I'm going to render is I'm gonna choose the madcap white cavity, which is this one, and I'm gonna do a render of that, which gives us as well some nice shadow details and some really good cavity details. So I'm gonna go to my render pass. I'm gonna save this out as well. So this is the white cavity map. Alright, so the next map I'm going to do is, let's see, we want one of these sketch maps down here. These sketch maps is really what's going to give us our nice details on the edges of the model, especially on the nails. So let's see if we can get this one to be a little darker. Something like this is probably okay, so let's try and render that. And can I make it even darker? Let's render this. And this is probably going to be okay, so I'm going to render and my render pass, and we're gonna save this as sketch map. That's probably going to be fine. And I told you that we're going to create a normal map inside XNormal as well, and we are, but a really quick way to do a normal map inside of ZBrush is just to apply the normal map material like this, and just render that out and then saving that. You can use this. I'm gonna try and have a look at the different normal maps that I create and see which one works best. Maybe this one works best at some point. We'll see. I'm just gonna save this out and see what we can do with it. So normal map, save, and I think that is basically it for ZBrush. We do need to do one final thing, and for this I'm going to save my document because ZBrush has a bad habit of crashing when I do this. I don't know if it's just a problem with my ZBrush or if it's in all ZBrushes. I hope not. But if I need to basically export these two models here, so I'm gonna choose my planks here, and I'm gonna come up to export, and then I'm gonna go to my OBJs folder. I'm gonna create a new one called bakes, and I'm gonna call this wooden planks HP for high poly. I'm gonna click save, and now I'm going to also save out my plane, but when I have already exported the planks, if I try now to export the plane, my ZBrush will probably crash. That's what happens most of the time. So if I click export here, I'm gonna just choose this. I'm just gonna rename it to LP for low poly and hit save. But when I do this, I think ZBrush is going to crash. But let's just see what happens. Yeah, there it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna restart ZBrush, and luckily I did save because I knew this problem was probably going to happen. So let's see. I'm gonna click yes, that's fine. It's gonna go file, open. I'm just gonna browse to my saved file, so graphical stuff there, ZBrush and 04. Okay, so we're now back. So I can now go up to my subtools and take the plane and hit export. And let's go to the OBJs folder, bakes, and let's overwrite the low poly that it did create, but I think this one is flawed, so let's just overwrite this one. That's fine. So now we're basically done with ZBrush, and we can close this down. I do not want to save because this one is already saved. So I'm now gonna open up XNormal, which is a program that bakes maps from high poly versions of models to low poly versions. So I'm gonna come to my high definition meshes, and I'm just gonna add a mesh here, and I'm gonna browse to my let's see, my graphical stuff and the two OBJs that we just baked. So I'm gonna choose my high poly object here. I'm gonna come to my low definition meshes over here, and I'm gonna add the low definition, the low polygon version, which is basically just the plane. I'm gonna open that, and I'm just gonna come down here to tools and the ray distance calculator, and seeing as I don't know exactly what numbers are going to go into the maximum frontal ray distance and the rear distance, I'm just going to use this tool here to calculate this for me. So I'm just going to hit go, and it starts analyzing the mesh and seeing how far the rays are going to travel to get the best possible renders. So this is basically something that you can choose when you want to shut down, and you can then copy the numbers over by pressing copy results. But once you see that the numbers are not really changing anymore, you can just do this. So I'm just gonna hit stop now, and then copy the results. And you can now see that the those numbers have now been put in down here. So I'm going to go to my baking options. I'm gonna choose a 1K map, and I'm gonna choose normal map, and I'm gonna choose ambient occlusion map. For this render, I'm going to keep an edge padding of 4 and a bucket size of 32. That's fine. So I'm just gonna browse where I want it to render out. I don't want it in the OBJ bakes folder. I want it in renders, and let's put it in a new folder called XNormal renders. And let's just go wooden planks. That's fine. ZBrush will automatically put an ending on this in accordance with what map it has rendered out, so this is fine. I'm also going to keep anti-aliasing at 4 times. And with this, I'm just gonna click Generate Maps and see what we get. So that is our normal map getting rendered out right now. And the ambient occlusion map is going to take a little more time. So I'm probably going to pause the video once that is done, because it is gonna... Hello guys and welcome back. As you can see, the ambient occlusion map is now finishing up. And once this is done, we can then start playing around in Photoshop to compose these layers. So now it's done. I'm gonna click close, and I'm just gonna exit XNormal. I'm gonna start off Photoshop. So what we're now going to do is I'm going to show you one of the issues that I have when rendering out maps from ZBrush. And as you can see, these are the maps that I've baked. Actually, they're not. Let's go graphical stuff. Now here, and renders. These are the maps that I've rendered. These are the ones from XNormal. And let's just try and import. Let's see. Let's just import the white wax into Photoshop. And this looks all good. But if you take a look, this is a 1K map, and if we try to unlock the layer and go filter other offset to check the tiling, you can see that we do have a seam down the middle here. This seam is, I have checked, it's 2 pixels wide. So what I do to fix this is I come up here to, first of all I tile it so that I have the seam in the middle like this. I then choose my marquee tool here, and I just select the seam like so, and I'm just deleting it like this. I'm then coming to the other side here. I'm gonna select this seam, and I'm just gonna delete that. So now I'm left with this. I'm now going to filter other offset and putting it back in its original place, and then choosing filter other offset again, and I'm offsetting by 1 pixel this time in either direction, so that we now have a 2 pixel seam here and a 2 pixel seam here. I can now choose my transform tool by hitting Ctrl T, and I can push this to the outer limit of the canvas like so, and now the seam is no longer there. So I'm gonna do this for all of the maps that I've baked from ZBrush. I believe that the maps that I've done in XNormal do not have this problem, so I'm just gonna check that. This is the ambient occlusion map. So I'm gonna offset this by 512 and 512, and you can see that we have no seam here. What we do have is we have a small artifact down here. I'm just gonna choose my heel brush. I'm just gonna get rid of that. Let's see if I can do a little bit better job of this. Let's see, I'm just gonna get my tablet here. Let's see, something like, this is probably not too good. I can go into my brush, and I can probably blend this a little better. Like, something like this. This is probably going to be okay. So now that I've done this, I also want to put it back in its original place again. So here, and I'm just gonna save this. Let's see, I believe it's JPEGs, yes. So I've replaced this now, and I've removed the artifact. So, but the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove all the seams from all of the maps that I've done in ZBrush, because they all have this problem. So I'm gonna see you guys when I've done this to all of these maps.